Hi, Joy Olson, Blockbuster Fundraising. And in case you're getting ready to write that spring fundraising letter, we've got some great tips from you today from Jeff Brooks from his book, How to Turn Your Words into Money. Sounds good, right? Well, Jeff points out a real truism, and that truism is that fundraising letters are really a different animal. And fundraising style is colloquial. It should be written to sound the way we talk. Colloquial voice creates the welcome illusion that the printed word is actually us having a conversation with our donors. Jeff says that there are a few hallmarks of a well-written colloquial fundraising template, and here are those hallmarks. Number one, you want short, simple sentences. Most sentences in fundraising should be under 10 words, and most should follow the standard subject, verb, object pattern. For example, the boy ate the rice. You don't want to say this or write this. The rice, having been eaten by the boy, is now gone. Get it? You make it simple. Next, passive voice. Most writing teachers had you believing that passive voice is not good. But skillful writers use it when the action is more important than the doer. For example, Frank was arrested on Christmas Day. Next, you want to write in sentence fragments. Jeff says use them because in speech we use fragments more often than complete sentences. And contractions. Jeff says many people will tell you to avoid them in print, but he says go ahead and use them because it can change the entire sense of what you're saying. For example, I will see you later versus I'll see you later. Just more friendly. 5 easy words. Many people think that big words carry more weight and dignity and authority. Jeff says that they don't. They're just harder to read. So he says choose smaller words most of the time when you are doing your fundraising writing. Hey, he says that fundraising style isn't afraid of cliches. And fundraising successfully, it's choppy and it's easy to read. He also says fundraising style is long, and Jeff believes that long messages almost always work better than short ones. He says a lot of people in authority are going to say nobody has the time to read a long message. Well, Jeff agrees that might be true, but whether or not people read those long messages, they do respond to them. So he truly believes that if you want better fundraising results, a longer message is your best bet. And you want to make your message simple because you are asking the donor to help you do something. So don't make it complex. Make it simple so they understand. And here's what understand what you want them to do. Here's what the donor needs to know. And Jeff says it's only 2 things. Number 1, they need to know that there's a problem. And number 2, they can be a part of the solution. And he says that's why simplicity gets the job done. A good fundraising letter also needs urgency. And there are 2 effective ways, Jeff says, to inject urgency into your message. One way is to describe the consequences of not acting now. Be vivid and specific about what can happen if the donor doesn't give. And secondly, make the issue time sensitive. Show the donor that giving now is better than giving later. Maybe it's a bad situation that will just get worse, or a deadline that is looming. Next, be repetitive because repetition works. Repetition helps ideas take hold. Repetition leads people to action. It's true that repetition can be annoying, but you have to notice it first, and it takes a while to get noticed. They say lots of times a person has to be asked 3 times before they notice it. I'm going to put up a little outline of fundraising messages in regards to repetition, so and I'm going to talk through it. But he says, number 1, you're going to write your introduction, and you're going to tell the donor why you're writing, and then you're going to ask. Number 2, you're going to give a description of the problem. 3, why their gift is needed now. 4th, and ask. 5th, you tell them a story that demonstrates the need using the life of one person as an example, and then ask. And a word picture of the change that will happen when the donor gives, and then an ask. Then a reminder that this cause is closely connected with the donor's values. Then an ask. And now the conclusion. Thank the donor for caring. And in the PS, you ask again. Hey, you may be thinking that's a lot of asking, but Jeff Brooks says that in fact, those are the elements of a super strong fundraising appeal. You do want your letter to be emotional, because that's the way that your donors make their decisions. So don't fight that. Instead, accommodate the way your donors choose. Give them the emotional material they need to make their decision. You want to make your message about people, not statistics and facts. Numbers numb the brain, but stories and pictures of people give donors a sense of call to action. Secondly, don't be afraid to tell negative stories. Your donors give to right wrongs. They want to turn the tide. They want to save the day. So if your message doesn't break their heart, you're missing the main reason that people give. They want to make a difference. Thirdly, editorialize. Your creative writing teacher insisted, show, don't tell. But as a fundraiser, you should show and tell. Tell them how to feel about it. For instance, write, "This is the saddest situation I've ever seen," end quote. They don't have to follow your prompt, but most of them will be willing to think about it in that way. 4, use sensory descriptions. Write your appeal so that your donor sees the colors, hears the sounds, smells the odors, and feels the pain of the stories you tell. When you do, you activate mirror neurons, and that is a type of brain cell that gives the sense that someone else's experience is your own. You can help donors know how it feels, even if they've never felt anything like it. So remember, let's sum up what we've just said simply so far. Your fundraising letter should be simple, urgent, repetitive, and emotional. Okay, now your letter needs a really good call to action. A strong call to action that packages your organization's activities into interesting, attractive, and affordable units. So here are the characteristics of such an offer. Number 1, a fundraising offer is concrete. It is tangible and ultra-specific. Ask the donor to do something they can see. It's tangible. Let her see that she is providing a needed item. Ask her to take an action. Give her the opportunity to create change. Make progress toward an understandable goal. For examples, meals for hungry people, not the elimination of food insecurity. Take a picture, a photo of what you're asking your donor to pay for. You want to make concrete details come to life. Okay. Secondly, your fundraising offer has a cost. Your offer, think of it as a specific product. It has a specific attribute and a specific cost. Like this, $2 provides one meal for a hungry person. $12 sponsors a rescue dog. $25 moves us closer to a cure. The cost should be appropriate for each donor's giving level. Use your segmentation, because you don't want to approach people who are likely to give only $25 and ask them to pay $3,000 for some fantastic item, and vice versa. You don't want to ask one of your major donors, a 5-figure donor, to contribute $25, because either one of these asks signals to the donor that you don't really know them, and that is a development officer's downfall. If you don't know your donors, and if you haven't segmented them out, they're going to really get the sense that they all are in just an unimportant pile. Don't do that. Thirdly, a fundraising offer is a good deal. A good deal that increases your donor's impact is one of the best ways to overcome inertia and excite a donor about giving. And there are 3 ways that you can create a good deal in your fundraising. Number 1, it's inexpensive. Whatever you're providing could cost less than it costs in the donor's experience. I think, wow, this is great. A meal should be under $2. An entire school might be built for $10,000. It's cheaper because you want to boost your donor's impact. All right, secondly, you want it to have a big impact. You want to make it clear that every donor's gift, even a small one, does a whole lot of good. It touches a large number of people, or it touches one person in a big way. It meaningfully changes a situation. Listen to this. It may only be a meal, but it opens the door to a transformed life. Pause for thought. That's a good one, isn't it? All right, the third way to create a good deal in fundraising is multiplication. Offers are especially effective when you can tell the donor that his or her dollar will become more than $1's worth of good. Offer matching funds or show the donor some way that their giving unlocks the contributions of others. So I hope you're getting a whole bunch of good ideas here. I know every time I reread this book, I refresh all these wonderful tips that Jeff gives us. So we know that fundraising does have some magic words, and Jeff certainly points this out. One of the magic words is enchanting, he says, and the other has a sinister force to weaken your writing. Eek! When you control these 2 words, you can wield a wizard-like powers, says Jeff Brooks. The magic word, of course, is you. The truth about fundraising, and some people find this truth distressing, is that the readers and the donors giving has more to do with what's going on in their heads than what's going on in your organization. While you struggle to articulate how awesome your programs are, donors' real motivations are entirely different. And here's the hard part. We rarely know what their inner motivations are because often they can't or won't articulate it. So that's where the magic of you comes in. When your fundraising is all about how your donor can change the world through your organization, you dovetail into the story in her head. You may not know the donor's backstory, but you're being irrelevant if you don't make the message about them. When you see a homeless person sitting on a park bench or sleeping under a bridge, you wonder what you should do. That's the kind of person you are. Do you give a homeless person some spare change? Is that kind and helpful? Or does it just make things worse? That decision is up to you. When you send your gift, you know you'll be really meeting real needs. Your donation will make their lives better. You will help them find permanent change. You'll improve our whole community. You've made your donor. Do you see what you've done? You've made your donor part of the story, part of the solution. And of course, the sinister word that you never want to use is I. Talking about yourself is terrible fundraising, but the power of I really bubbles from the cauldron, Jeff says, when you use it in your office discussions about fundraising. When you use the statements like these, I like it, I don't like it, I would never respond to that. How you feel about fundraising doesn't matter, not a whit. What your donors experience is the only thing that matters. So here's the trick. Jeff says, learn to get your thrills not from fundraising messages that make you or your boss feel good, but from the results of your work. Because after all, that's where the magic is. So I hope that you've enjoyed some of these really great tips. The second part of the book gets into how to tell really great stories, and I love that too. But we will get into that next week in our next live. So I hope you're having a great week, getting excited about spring. It's hard to believe it's already March, so much going on, and almost the end of our third quarter. So we're thinking about you and all your fundraising goals, and happy that you were here with us today. Check us out again next week. And while you're checking us out, there's a lot more information at blockbusterfundraising.com, joyolsongroup.com, hundreds, way over 300 of free video fundraising tips on our Blockbuster Fundraising YouTube channel. We're having a lot of fun these days with our IGTV Instagram channel too. So I hope you're having fun, just doing great things with your fundraising success for your nonprofit organization. This is Joy saying thank you for having been here. Bye-bye.